Ladies and gentlemen from our cherished media houses, good afternoon and welcome to the headquarters of the new patriotic party. We have called you here to address 3 critical issues. That is the shocking conduct of the Special Prosecutor, Mr. Kisi Ejaben, in declaring Ken Ofori, the former finance minister, as a fugitive and also a wanted person. And also we'll be addressing the unconstitutional revocation of appointment and recruitment. You will recall that the Chief of Staff, through a directive to all state institutions, directing them to revoke all appointments made after December 7, 2024. And again, the obnoxious knowledge prosequi that free individuals who have cases to answer in court and to the Ghanaian people. These are issues that should concern all Ghanaians, because if left, we need to address these issues in its proper perspective. They can collectively undermine the due process provisions of our laws and the human rights of citizens. It can also unduly interfere in the work of the judiciary, and it will weaken our cherished democracy. Yesterday, Mr. Kisi Ejaben held a press conference and declared Ken Ofori, the former Minister of Finance, a fugitive from justice. It is baffling that a special prosecutor, a lawyer, and a law lecturer could make such basic mistake in labeling a person of interest who has not been charged and remains in contact through his lawyers as a wanted individual or a fugitive. Isn't that odd? A respected legal personality, a former director of the Ghana Law School, Mr. Ansana Sari, says that this act is not only barbaric, but uncouth, uncivilized, and unethical. Ladies and gentlemen, Ken Ofori is not evading accountability, as the OSP claimed. On January 2nd, 2025, he wrote a letter to the then Chief of Staff, Madame Frima Oseo Pare, that he was traveling to the United States for a follow-up medical visit. He included his current and reliable contact information at the end of the letter. On January 22nd, 2025, Mr. Ofori again wrote to the new Chief of Staff, Mr. Julius Debra, to inform him that he was overseas for a medical examination. He concluded his letter with the following: please do not hesitate to reach out if there is any information you will need in the interest of the state regarding the fact that I've been or I've held some formal positions in government. Mr. Ofori also provided reliable email addresses for any required communication. He also attached his letters to the former Chief of Staff for Mr. Debra's reference. 2 days after he wrote this letter to the Chief of Staff, the Special Prosecutor sent a letter, and this was January 24th, 2025, sent a letter to Mr. Oforiatta's residence regarding a directive to appear at the office of the Special Prosecutor on Monday, February 10th, 2025. That was the date for him to appear, to discuss suspected corruption and corruption-related offenses. The letter also enumerated 4 matters being investigated by the OSP. Then on January 31st, Mr. Oforiatta responded to the Special Prosecutor's letter through his lawyer, stating that our client notified the former Chief of Staff in earlier January and more recently informed the current Chief of Staff about his trip outside the country for medical reasons. Our client is currently undergoing medical observation and test, which will lead to a decision about his treatment. After that, he will have a clearer idea of when to proceed to Ghana. Therefore, we respectfully wish to inform you that we will notify you of his arrival to the country so that you can reschedule your invitation to him for purposes stated in the heading of your reference letter. Then on 5th February 2025, the Special Prosecutor responded to Mr. Oforiatta's lawyer, stating that the OSP declines your request to be away from the jurisdiction indefinitely on medical grounds based solely on your statement. You are required to indicate by the close of business on Monday, February 10, 2025, a reasonable date for your return to the jurisdiction and attendance to the OSP. If you fail to do so, the OSP will take all necessary legal steps to secure your return to the jurisdiction and your attendance to the OSP in our discretion. Let me make this reference quickly. You recall that there was also another matter the OSP was investigating, the famous Airbus, the intermediary 1, intermediary 2 to 5 issue. Mr. Kisieja being told us in August last year that he traveled all the way to UK to interview Sam Mahama, John Mahama's brother, intermediary 5. So what stopped him from doing same to the former minister? This is somebody who is saying that I'm seeking medical attention. The health facility wrote a letter to the OSP. It was signed, dated, and it was an authentic letter. So if you think that you need a person badly for your investigation, just as you travel to UK to interview Sam Mahama, what then stopped you from doing same to former finance minister? What is so urgent that you cannot wait? What is so urgent that if he could have waited 2 years before he interviewed Sam Mahama in the famous Airbus issue, then why this haste? And even if you do the calculations, we are talking about just within a space of 2 weeks. So you request the presence of somebody. The person says that I'm out of the jurisdiction for medical attention. You have received letters from his lawyers. You have received letters from the hospital signed by a medical doctor. And all of these correspondence is just within 2 weeks. Then, quickly, you label the person as a fugitive. Very, very bizarre situation. On February 7, 2025, in a reply to the Special Prosecutor's letter of February 5th, Mr. Oforiatta's lawyer stated, "Please find the attached document indicating that our client is receiving attention at the Mayo Clinic in the US. It outlines his appointment and suggests a date after March when our client may be able to return to Ghana. A date after March. March is just next month. The letter from Mayo Hospital stated that Mr. Ofori-Atta was undergoing further testing and management, including possible surgical intervention in March 2025. The hospital's letter provided reliable contact, a doctor's name, the department name, a phone number, a reliable email address. It was also stamped Mayo Clinic authentic document with a signature and a date. Nonetheless, the correspondence between the OSP and the lawyers on February 11, 2025, 12 men, including 1 police officer, 4 military personnel, and 7 unidentified individuals in plain clothes raided Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta's home. Video footage of the raid reveals that one Richard Japa, a third accused in the famous ambulance trial case, accompanied the men into the residence of Mr. Ofori-Atta, all armed to the teeth. Ladies and gentlemen, the OSP is being unreasonable considering the ongoing communication between Ken Ofori-Atta and the OSP office concerning his health. Additionally, the treatment letter from the Mayo Clinic should demonstrate that he is indeed receiving care. My little knowledge in law reveals that if somebody is declared a fugitive, it means that person cannot be reached, cannot be traced. You don't even know where the person is. And at least you give yourself a reasonable time after a search. In any case, the OSP lacked that power to declare anybody wanted. It is only the court that can do so. If the special prosecutor's letter from January 24th had prompted Mr. Ofori-Atta to leave Ghana, the OSP might be justified in harboring suspicion. However, Mr. Ofori-Atta was already out of the country well before OSPs contacted him. He traveled on the 2nd of January, and your letter to him came in on the 24th of January. So how could the man be labeled as a fugitive when he was already in the country? Indeed, he was not even the finance minister about 8 months before the election. And you, Mr. Kisejabe, you were the special prosecutor. And he was in the country throughout. For 8 months of the election, you could not invite the person. The person steps out of the country for medical attention. And it is not as if you wrote to the person before he traveled. Your letter came 2 weeks after he had traveled, and yet you unreasonably label this person as a fugitive. Very, very, very unreasonable. To avoid any misunderstanding, since he was appointed Minister of Finance in 2017, Mr. Ofori-Atta has consistently demonstrated unwavering transparency and respect in response to all legal inquiries and state investigation involving him. The Eurobond conflict of interest probe by Sraj, the vote of censure by Parliament readily comes to mind. Mr. Ofori-Atta has remained present, fully engaged, and open with the relevant authorities throughout these proceedings. His long history of openness and cooperation reinforces a commitment to upholding the highest standards of integrity. Mr. Ofori-Atta can never be a fugitive. He is not a fugitive, and he will never be a fugitive. The OSP got it wrong. He got it wrong. Once Mr. Oforiatta's doctors declare him fit and healthy, he will return to the country. Until then, the special prosecutor should avoid making sensational statements, provoking public emotions, and creating drama over the matter that could have been adequately resolved through correspondence. If you label your former finance minister as a fugitive, which indeed is not so, what you are doing is that it is a national embarrassment. It amounts to national embarrassment. When indeed, the length of your correspondence is just 2 weeks, and you can't wait. It's not as if the person is lost. The person cannot be traced. Again, the special prosecutor also mentioned in his press statement yesterday that the former National Petroleum Authority boss, Honorable Dr. Sheikh Mustafa Abdul Hamid, is a subject matter of investigation. Again, in a very bizarre situation, you put together a press conference, you state that Dr. Mustafa Hamid is a subject matter for some investigations, that is corruption-related offenses. Yet, at the time you were making such a statement, Dr. Mustafa had not even received even a text message, even a letter, even a phone call, nothing, no correspondence that you need him for investigation. Is this fair? Is that how you do your work? It is interesting to note that Honorable Mustafa has not received any invitation from the special prosecutor or any state investigative body, nor has he been under any investigation for any said alleged crime. Let me state that the NPP, we are going to cooperate with any state investigative body. We are. The NPP, our members, past CEOs, past officials, anybody, we are going to fully cooperate. Let it be known that the New Patriotic Party and our members are law-abiding and will cooperate fully with any state institution. But however, we will reject any form of political harassment. Any form of political harassment. What happened in Mr. Oforiatta's house is very unfortunate. We are not in a jungle. What happened there? And for the special prosecutor to even say that his intelligence revealed that what happened in Mr. Oforiatta's house was staged, managed. It was staged by himself. It's very unfortunate. When especially we have CCTV footages showing all of these men in uniform, all the vehicles used, and one Japa leading the men. So the OSP got it wrong. What kind of intelligence is he gathering? What kind of intelligence? Ladies and gentlemen of the media, let's move on to the next issue. The government's illegal directive to nullify or to revoke public service appointments made after December 7th, 2024 is regressive, potentially detrimental to the democratic gains and governance in Ghana. The President's directive to the Chief of Staff instructing heads of government agencies to nullify or to revoke all public service appointments made after December 7th is poorly conceived, illegal, and profoundly damaging to the hardworking Ghanaian. This decision contradicts the core principles of job creation, which the ruling party promised through its 24-hour economy. We were here in Ghana, we were told that the 24-hour economy will provide jobs in the morning, some will go in the afternoon, others will go at night. So what happened? Mr. President, in addition to its devastating effect on individuals and families, the directive lacks legal foundation and compromises the integrity of Ghana's public service recruitment processes. Public service recruitment in Ghana is not arbitrary. It follows strict bureaucratic processes with multiple levels of approval before hiring a personnel. Any agency must obtain financial clearance or board approval from the relevant authorities. In some cases, even from Public Services Commission. You must secure financial clearance from the Ministry of Finance, incorporate new hires into its annual budget planning, and adhere to specific timelines set by the Ministry of Finance, which often spans months or even years. So, the processes of recruitment is not just an event. Ladies and gentlemen, it is absurd to suggest that public services could bypass all these public agencies, could bypass all these procedures after December 7th, 2024, and illegally recruit staff. The mere date of appointment does not invalidate the due process that was followed before these individuals were hired. If recruitment occurred within an approved financial clearance period, retroactively nullifying these appointments clearly violates administrative justice and employment rights. Further, Ghana's labor laws protect employees from arbitrary dismissals. Appointments that follow proper procedures establish legal contracts between employees and the state. A blanket cancellation of such appointment would constitute unlawful termination, exposing the government to potential lawsuit. Accordingly, the letter signed by the Chief of Staff, he stated that the recruitments were made in the public services are not in compliance with established good governance practice and principles. It is worthy to note that this so-called good governance practice and principles can never be grounds for termination of appointment. In his letter, he never mentioned that these recruitments were done illegally, they did not follow due process. He never mentioned so. He only said that it was against good governance and practices, all because the people received their appointment letters on the 7th of December 2024. Constitutionally, every government has a 4-year mandate. And it is clear when the mandate will expire. So before the exit of any government, that government duly, under the Constitution, can undertake any exercise, including recruitment. Ladies and gentlemen, this revocation will destroy livelihoods. We are talking about the police, those who have been recruited, police, military. We are talking about fire service, immigration, SEPS. We are talking about GRA. We are talking about all institutions. So we are talking about thousands of jobs, mass unemployment. The most immediate and devastating consequences of this directive is the mass unemployment. Thousands of Ghanaians who have legally secured jobs will suddenly find themselves without work. not due to incompetence or redundancy or any illegality, but because of a certain political expediency. This decision will also plunge thousands of families into financial distress, worsening an already difficult economic condition. It will also discourage young professionals from pursuing careers in public service, as it indicates that job security is subject to a political current. The government must recognize that public service appointments are not gifts. They are legitimate job opportunities, and through due process, these affected workers are not just numbers. They are fathers, they are mothers, they are recent graduates, they are breadwinners. They have committed themselves to national service. Their fate should not be decided by politically motivated directive. The New Patriotic Party has a duty to defend Ghanaians against such unjust directive. We will not support the Mahama administration in destroying the livelihoods of Ghanaians who have gone through the process to secure their appointment. On December 19, 2016, when the NDC lost, I recall the former President Mahama, then now President Mahama, through the same chief of staff, made key appointments. In fact, on the 16th of December 2026, that was when they appointed the Auditor General, the former Auditor General, Mr. Domlevo, who is part of the discredited URA. Key appointments were made. Mr. Joseph Whither, Ms. Josephine Nkrumah, and Mr. Daniel Domlevo to lead SHRAJ, National Commission for Civic Education, and the Office of the Auditor General, respectively. Additionally, on December 20th, 2016, President Mahama, through the Finance Ministry, also increased, I recall, the National Service Allowance from 350 Ghana cedis to 549 Ghana cedis, effective January 2017. Ladies and gentlemen, the NPP government under President Kufuor did not cancel these appointments. We honored them. Likewise, we did not dismiss John Mahama's last-minute appointment or last-minute increase to the National Service Allowance. We honored all of these. This is how democratic governance should function. It's supposed to be a continuum. Therefore, President Mahama cannot revoke the appointment of these recruitments, just as President Kufuor took responsibility for his last-minute appointment in 2016. He must also take responsibility for the appointment made legitimately, whatever date within 2024. Now, because this directive lacked basis and it was not well grounded in law, you realize that there have been a lot of abuses. When you go to Ghana Water, I saw a communique from the Chief Executive Officer saying that for him, he has revoked all appointments from November 2024. Why? Because when he took office, he noticed that the appointments made at Ghana Water were in November 2024. So if he is supposed to stick to the directive of the Chief of Staff, he will not get anybody to sack. So he had to go back to November 2024. Very bizarre. So because this directive lacked proper legal grounding, it's been a subject of abuse by so many state institutions. And this is very, very unfair. We urge Ghanaians whose livelihood are at risk due to this unfortunate directive from President Mahama's administration to remain strong and recognize that The New Patriotic Party is dedicated to protecting their legitimate jobs. The NPP will fully support any legal action to undo this illegality, this wrongful termination of appointment. I am already in court. I've already directed my lawyers. Today, as I speak, they will serve all processes. They are going to file all processes today. We are in court to challenge the unconstitutional act of the president, and the New Patriotic Party will support any legal action to undo this illegal and wrongful termination of appointment. We also encourage the affected persons to come together and seek legal redress. Ladies and gentlemen, President Mahama's administration is a growing disaster, particularly in the fight against corruption. As you know, the government established oral committee. For us, it looks like the committee was just set up as a political persecution mechanism. Why? I have a report in my hands, and I'll read it. The former Chief Executive Officer of Microfinance and Small Scale Center, Maslow, Sedna Tamakulu, has been sentenced to serve 10-year prison with hard labor. The conviction stems from misappropriation of funds allocated for Maslow activities between 2013 and 2016. Over 17 million Ghana cedis, which was meant to be disbursed to victims of fire incident at Kankamandu, was misappropriated by the accused. The report that was presented to former President Mahama, and even the ones that we've seen circulating, I have not seen even a sentence or even a page talking about Sednam Tamakulu, somebody or who misappropriated. He was a former CEO of Maslow. And for this person, the entire matter has gone through our court processes. The court made pronouncement. He's been sentenced to 10 years in prison. Yet, the oral committee whatsoever did not find it appropriate to tell Ghanaians where Sednam Tamakulu is. Indeed, I'm even surprised that even yesterday when the Attorney General had the press conference, I was thinking, well, this is a pending issue. This is some monies misappropriated, 17 million. I was thinking that the Attorney General will even mention it, that maybe they'll be taking steps to make sure that Sednam Tamakulu will be brought back to Ghana. She rather is a fugitive, not Mr. Ofori. She rather is a fugitive, not Mr. Ofori. President John Dramani Mahama has promised OCA instead of ORA. President Mahama now, according to Manasseh Azuri, is the Republic's chief clearing agent. Ladies and gentlemen, President Mahama cannot shift the chief clearing agent tag to the Attorney General and the Minister of Justice, Dr. Dominic Ayeni. Yesterday at the press conference, you saw how the Attorney General struggled to say that President Mahama did not direct him to file a nolle prosequi and that he made a decision independently. I mean, this is bizarre, and for me, this is even more worrying. Such important matter. A minister tasked with the construction of 5,000 units of houses, $200 million involved. We did not get the 5,000 units. we rather got uncompleted 1,005 units. The said minister was in court, and the Attorney General entered into a notice of fire, and he's been appointed. You have a situation where there is a $66 million scandal hanging around the neck of the former Senate boss, Mr. Ennis Thompson. And instead of him to answer to Ghanaians through the court, again, the Attorney General entered into another procedure, claimed this person. He says, go home. And then you have a former deputy governor in charge of banking supervision, advancing a colossal amount of 400 million or so to a dying, to a collapsing bank. And he's in court to answer. The Attorney General goes to court, picks this man up, clears him of all charges. Then the following day, interestingly, he is appointed governor, Bank of Ghana. So you ask yourself, President Mahama, so is it the case that you cannot get anybody at all to be governor, Bank of Ghana, and you must appoint somebody with a heap of cases around this, with so many issues around his neck? He is answering a case in court, a case involving over 400 million Ghana cedis or so. And the Attorney General goes in, picks him up, clears him, then the following day he's appointed governor. Meanwhile, you are chasing after certain ghost document from oral, and then you have Mr. Donlevot saying that even all the documents they have gathered, it must be audited before it can be credible. Can you imagine? You've been given the work to do, and then you present your report, and now you are telling us that even the work that you have done is not even correct. It's not even solid, and that we must audit it again. This is the kind of situation we find ourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, the Attorney General can tell this story that the president wasn't aware. What kind of governance is that? That you drop such important cases in court, involving former ministers, involving somebody you intended to appoint the governor, Bank of Ghana. You made all of these decisions without the input of the president, and the president wasn't aware. Said this to some children by the fireside, but not to us. President Mahama appointed him and instructed him to clear the NDC members whilst taking steps to prosecute opponents using a certain discredited oral. Even their chairman cannot even declare his assets. He says that he stays in Airport Hills. A plot in Airport Hills is about $500,000. He says he's not the owner of the mansion he stays in. A big mansion with swimming pool, 8-bedroom, big mansion. He says that he's been renting this building for the past 8 years. From our checks, it is between $15,000 to $20,000 a month. He told the committee, the vetting committee, that the only source of income for him is the money he receives as an MP. You let's add all his sitting allowance, committee allowance, all of that. His pay is 20,000. All the allowances put together, let's say 40,000. And then you stay in a 220,000 Ghana cedis a month house. You, oral committee chairman, you cannot even declare your assets. You cannot even disclose your source of income. So where do you get money, apart from the 40,000, that where do you get money to fund all of these 220,000 rent you pay every month? In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, this Mahama government has deceived Ghanaians. A candidate who campaigned to reduce the cost of living is now busily undermining people's livelihood by revoking their appointment. Candidate or President John Dramani Mahama, who promised to uphold the laws and combat corruption, instead is clearing alleged wrongdoers and turning blind eye while the OSP abuses the law to target its political opponent. The NDC did not promise this to Ghanaians. Based on the experience so far, the reset President Mahama promised is a deterioration of Ghana's modest gains. Ladies and gentlemen, Ghana needs an upgrade, not just a regressive reset we are experiencing only a month into President Mahama's governance. We invite Ghanaians to join the effort to hold the Mahama government to strict accountability. Thank you very much.